11th, 2018. We have a roll call.
Chair Simpson?
Here.
Commissioner Hall?
Here.
Commissioner Scott?
Here.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Here.
Commissioner Kai?
Here.
And looks like Commissioner here and Flores are absent.
All right, thank you very much. On our consent agenda is the Planning Commission meeting minutes. However, at least three of us did not get those minutes in our packet, so we're going to pull that agenda item. And I hope everybody has received a copy of the revised agenda. You did?
I did.
But I didn't. Are they the 28th ones?
That's what they say.
Where were they?
I don't know. They just magically showed up in my packet.
I didn't get them. Did you guys? Did you get them?
I found it separate from.
Yeah. It's not in the packet. It was like a separate collection of papers.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't see it in.
I'm just curious how you adjourned the meeting at 7:37.
You weren't here.
I'm not the only one. Come on.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. My apologies.
It's at the very back
Is
of the
it?
packet. I just found it.
Mine's the economic development. Oh, it is. My bad. We did get them, but they were stapled behind the economic development thing, and I had read that through CAC, so I didn't read these minutes. All right, so we did get them, but we haven't read them, so we are going to move them to the next meeting. All right, council liaison announcements. Councilor Garland.
Thank you, everybody. You can hear me. So today the police station had their annual blood drive, 9/11 blood drive, very successful. A lot of people there. I know Commissioner Holm was there, and Julia, I was there as well. A bunch of people were there, so it was great to see the good turnout there. Thursday, there's the Sherwood Old Town Main Street front porch celebration of the 125th anniversary of Sherwood. It has been moved to the Sherwood Center for the Arts. It's no longer going to be outdoors just due to the weather. So it's going to be an excellent dinner and entertainment for the family. It's starting at 7, dinner is at 6. City Council meets next Tuesday. We've got a full session. Work session with the police chief. Going to talk to us at 5:30 about future police staffing based on the staffing study that was from Matrix from a few years ago. We have a few items on consent, presentations. We're going to meet the new finance tech and HR analyst. Chief's going to come back in and speak to us about some community input issues that they've gotten. They're out doing some surveys. You may have seen them at the National Night Out, and talking to a lot of people, so we're going to get a recap on that. Anniversary proclamation for the YMCA, the 20th anniversary for the Sherwood YMCA, and 150th anniversary for the YMCA of Columbia-Willamette. Talk about the Charter Review Committee, which you guys are talking about in just a bit. And then we're going to have a public hearing on the amendments that you guys discussed last week. It'll be our first reading of that. So that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Staff announcements. Erica?
So your next planning commission meeting will be a work session with our community advisory committee on September 26th, which is a Wednesday, and that starts at 6. Starts at 6 o'clock here in this room, and we'll be reviewing the housing needs analysis that night. And then on Tuesday, October 2nd, City Council and Planning Commission will have a joint work session on the draft economic opportunities analysis. And that concludes my comments.
Do you also want to announce that Colleen is now no longer going to be temporary, that she will now be here on a regular basis? Would you announce that?
So Colleen is permanent to the Community Development Department, and we are glad to have her.
And she's permanently assigned to the Planning Commission as our...
Correct.
Congratulations, I guess.
Yes, thank you.
So she, we did a little reorganization with some budget changes, but so she's going to work in community development. She's going to basically be in the spot that Michelle Babcock used to be in, where she's providing admin assistance to planning, building, and engineering. But because of her strong admin skills and just the experience that she has with records and minutes and all that stuff. She's a great resource for the Planning Commission secretary. She was trained well by Sylvia, as was Kirsten. So we steal them from Sylvia after she trains them thoroughly. But so she'll be a great asset to your commission. So.
Thank you. What time is the October 2nd joint meeting with the council?
We have it scheduled for 5:30, I believe.
5:30? Community comments. Community comments are limited to those items not already on the agenda. And before we go any further, I want to announce that if you wish to testify tonight, either under community comments or one of our business items, we ask you to fill out one of the blue cards in the back and turn it in. And there's also a sign-up sheet in the back of the room to sign up to be on our emails. So, Eugene Stewart.
Eugene Stewart, property owner, 22595 Southwest Pine Street. As I drive to work down 99W every day, I fail to see where the state, the county, or the cities have done very good planning, if any planning, on where they're going to put all these additional people you're trying to put in, not only at Sherwood, but down in Newburgh, Bull Mountain area, the other side of there. Keeps getting worse. As last week, first week of school, did notice the high school was able to back it up to 99W, and some cars tried to get across 99W and then sit out in the middle and then block traffic. I don't know, it seems like we don't have a good plan to gather statistics to show us what is happening, where it's happening, what are solutions. And it just seems like we say, well, 99W, that's the state's highway, that's their problem. Well, it's not, it's the people's problem too. And you get concerned about speed that they come through, you put in a red light, traffic light with speed. All these people are trying to do is get to work. And so if they get caught in a jam, they do some stupid things, they go a little faster. But I'm willing to venture that most people going across the swamp, it's not 55 if it's fairly open. It's probably closer to 65, 70. Not probably causing any great problem as long as everybody's paying attention to what they're doing. And part of the problem then rolls into if, like, what our citizens' involvement. I don't think we have a very good plan. We don't have very many citizens involved. I think we're probably big enough to where you should be broken up into maybe neighborhood groups where they would have a committee which would not only be involved, say, in planning, but also they could meet at schools. They could discuss what's going on at school so we're better informed of what's going on. Your CPO 5 is not even in operation in Washington County. That's something I think that the city of Sherwood should take a very strong look at and maybe sit down with Tarleton and get it up and running again. And I also think that by splitting up into different groups within the city, maybe you would get more feedback. Or maybe people just don't care until you really screw up. But how do you go out and really get people involved? And we don't seem to have really tried to address that problem head on and go out and really get them involved if we want them involved. The other thing is that when you have your hearings, you limit people to 4 minutes. So maybe they weren't able to write out and turn something in. If they do have something important, I would think you should take the time to allow them to continue on if they are making good points. I don't understand how you think anybody could argue anything in 4 minutes on a lot of these complex issues you have. Now, if you had a citizens committee up and running, then they would have a chance to go to those meetings, and with support from the city showing them what's going on, they can ask questions, they can make more better informed decisions. They then can draw up a paper from the organization that is supposed to be there and forward it to the Planning Commission along with their packet, so that you can see both the proponent and opponent, whichever way they may be. So I think we need to take a large, hard look at what Goal 1 says and to make sure we are meeting it. So in my opinion, at this point, we don't have a citizens involvement plan, which is required by Goal 1. It is in Part 1. There's some argument whether when you dissolve Part 2, you also dissolve Part 1 when you replace Part 2, but you never replace Part 1. So those are things, I mean, seems like one of the first things that citizens
Eugene, you have to wrap it up. Yeah.
Needs to look at is what is Goal 1 and how does the city meet it? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, obviously, we can't discuss any matter that has not been properly noticed for Oregon public meeting laws. But my comment would be on the Goal 1 and the comprehensive plan. The Citizen Advisory Committee meeting is meeting right now, and this is your opportunity to get involved with that. So I encourage you to attend that and take your comments to council regarding the transportation issues that you've seen. So.
Yeah, because ODOT really cares what we say.
All right, I don't see any other comment sheets for citizen comments. Having no one come up and race to the podium, I will move on to new business. Our first new business item is to discuss and appoint a replacement to the city's Charter Review Committee, as it is anticipated that Commissioner Scott will not be able to be on the Planning Commission once he is on City Council. So, Commissioner Scott?
Yes, so I would like to recommend Commissioner Holm for the appointment to the Charter Review Committee, if she is so inclined.
Yes, I would be interested.
All right.
I'm all for it.
All right. Informally moved and seconded that Commissioner Holm be appointed to the city's Charter Review Committee. Any discussion?
Anybody that wants to
Any other
meeting,
volunteers?
it's not my-
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passed. Thank you, Commissioner Holm, for volunteering for that.
Yep.
Now we're going to move on to to act as the Landmark Advisory Board and open public hearing LA 1801 Sherwood Old Town Dental. The public hearing on LA 1801 Sherwood Old Town Dental is now called to order. The public hearing this evening will be conducted as follows. The staff will present the staff report, questions if any by the hearing body. We will then open the public hearing and time will be limited as followed. Applicant will have 30 minutes split between presentation and rebuttal. Persons in favor of the application will have 4 minutes each. Persons opposed to the application will have 4 minutes each. And then the rebuttal from the applicant is the remainder of the 30 minutes. We will then close the public hearing. No other comments will be heard from the public or the applicant. We'll have final comments by staff and then questions of staff, if any, by the commission. We'll then have discussion by the commission. A decision may be made by the Planning Commission acting as the Landmarks Advisory Board at the close of the hearing, or the matter may be continued to a time and date certain. If the matter is continued to a date certain, this will be the only notice of that date you receive. If you wish to speak, please fill out one of the blue testimony forms and submit it to the Planning Commission Secretary. The chair will recognize people who wish to speak, and any questions should be addressed through the chair. When you come forward, please state your name and address for the record and make sure the green light on the microphone is turned on. In reaching a decision on the application, the commission must consider whether the application meets the relevant approval criteria in the city's land use regulations. Those criteria are identified in the staff report. There are 2 copies of the staff report available in the room this evening. The testimony and evidence must address these criteria or other criteria you believe to apply to the decision. Please note, failure to raise an issue with enough detail to enable the commission, the applicant, and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal to the City Council or Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Again, failure by the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues regarding proposed conditions of approval, again with enough detail to allow the commission to respond to the issue, precludes an action for damages in circuit court. And we are the final hearing, and any appeal would be to the City Council on this matter. At this time, I would like to ask members of the commission to disclose any ex parte contacts, bias, or conflicts of interest. Indicate the nature and extent of the ex parte contact, bias, or conflict of interest, and indicate whether you intend to participate in or abstain from the hearing.
I have a bias against our code. I mean, I just think it's ridiculous what we made this person do to get that roof put on. I really think the code needs to be rewritten.
But we can't do that tonight.
I'm just telling you my bias against it.
Okay, do you intend to participate in the
Yep.
hearing? All right. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge any planning commission member's ability to participate? All right, then we will have the staff report followed by any questions by the planning commission.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Joy Chang, Associate Planner with the City's Planning Department. Before you tonight is Sherwood Old Town Dental, LA, or Landmark Alteration 18-01, an Old Town Overlay Landmark Alteration Review. Under Section 16.164010 Landmark Review, the Planning Commission shall act as the Landmarks Advisory Board and the designated review and approval authority for historic and cultural landmarks unless otherwise stated within that section. So due to newspaper publication error and notification requirements, the Planning Commission opened this public hearing on August 14th and continued the hearing to tonight of date certain. The applicant proposes to change an existing dental office building by modifying its exterior with new siding, paint, windows, and roof, and ultimately that is the proposal. The property address is 16043 Southwest Railroad Street in Sherwood's Old Town, and is located between Southwest Pine and Southwest Washington Street. The building fronts on Southwest Railroad Street, and a secondary access can be obtained from the alleyway located northwest of the site. Right-of-way improvements such as sidewalks and roadways exist along the frontage of the site. The total site area is approximately 5,000 square feet and is fully developed with an existing commercial building utilized again as a dental office. The property is zoned retail commercial and is located on the Smockville area of the Sherwood Old Town overlay. And a dental office is an allowed use within the retail commercial zone and is allowed within the Old Town overlay. This slide identifies the required approval criteria for the review. Very specifically, Section 16.22, the Commercial Land Use Districts, Section 16.162, Old Town Overlay, and 16.168, Landmark Alteration. Old Town Overlay Design Standards have 2 parts: Community Design Standards and Smockville or Old Cannery Design Standards. The map to the right outlines the entire Old Town overlay, and it shows the green line that separates Old Town into 2 areas. The southern area is considered Old Cannery area, and the northern Smockville Design Area. The site, again, is within the northern segment, the Smockville Design Area. The colors on the left side of this slide reflects the general community design standard that all exterior materials shall be earth tones, per 16.1627070H. The proposal is utilizing the colors of pure white, functional gray, and urban bronze, which meet these standards. Per the applicant, in regards to original elements, only a few of the original elements, design elements of the structure are remaining after several remodels over the last 50 years. The proposed renovation will retain the hip roof form, the street pedestrian scale, and the massing of the original construction. The original windows were removed and replaced in the late 1970s. New double-hung windows will be installed in all areas visible from the public right-of-way, and the original chimney was removed. The chimney that is currently on the structure will be removed as part of the roof replacement. Skylights were added to the street-facing side of the roof in 1979 and will remain as part of this proposal. The original gutters were replaced at some point. The existing gutters will be replaced as needed. There are no original architectural details that have remained through past remodels. The renovated facades will incorporate typical vernacular trim details at windows and doors, porch posts, and water table. No original siding is visible. The current street-facing siding is diagonal cedar board and stucco. This will be replaced with a traditional lap and board and batting siding. Addressing the front facility presentation, the existing skylights and plumbing vents will be kept in their current location. Proposed alterations to the structure will not relocate these two elements. The Old Town Smockville commercial structure design standards have 12 components. 7 of the 12 are applicable to this proposal. The ones in blue are not applicable. Since the proposal consists of alterations to an existing building and no new commercial construction or addition is proposed, 5 of the standards are not applicable. The next couple of slides will provide more detail on how the 7 applicable standards are satisfied. Related to volume and mass, the proposed development will not modify the existing building orientation, setback, or width. Modification to the existing entrance is not proposed. Tied to openings, the existing window size and location remains unchanged. No additional windows are proposed, and the existing 35% glazing will remain unchanged. Prohibited opening types are not proposed. The vertical facade rhythm, the existing windows create vertical base. The window location and size will not change, meeting the multiple base standards. The proposed alteration will create a horizontal bay with addition of a belly band, which is basically this, let's see if I can do it. This white line right in the middle there. And with horizontal siding, the proposed corner boards will provide an edge definition also. In regards to sense of entry, the existing front entrance of the building, which is actually located on the side of the building, is clearly defined with a door that is at least 50% transparent. The entryway is architecturally integrated into the vertical and horizontal rhythms of the facade. Roof forms. Staff has verified that the existing structure was originally a single-family dwelling, constructed with a hip roof. The proposed development will not alter the roof form, but will replace the roof with new shingles. The cost of changing a roof form to meet traditional commercial roof forms standard is not proportional to the proposed design alteration. Exterior surface materials, the residing project will consist of painted horizontal wood siding and painted board and batten. Front-facing presentation, the proposed alterations does not alter existing skylights, roofs, or plumbing vents. The changes are to the exterior of the building and with new siding, paint, windows, and roof. Required public notices were completed, and at the start of this meeting, no public comments were received. Staff recommends approval of the proposed landmark alteration within the Old Town overlay with conditions as identified within the staff report. That concludes my staff report and can answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions for the staff before we ask the applicant to come forward?
I just have an edit to the staff report. Should I do that now?
Yes, please.
So under item 3, agency comments on page 3, under Pride Disposal Company, it has information regarding agencies that did not respond or provided no comments to the request. You listed Clean Water Services, but they did respond. So if you could remove that from the listing.
Yes, so noted.
Great, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We now have the applicant an opportunity to testify. Scott Grant.
Scott Grant, 16043 Southwest Railroad Street. My wife's the dentist. That's all I really have to say.
All right.
We're just trying to re-side, and the siding needs to be replaced, and we want to update it. That's pretty much it.
All right. Does anybody have any questions of the applicant? All right. Appears you have 29 minutes and 36 seconds for rebuttal.
I yield all my time to anybody.
All right. Thank you. We do have one person wishing to testify this evening, Eugene Stewart.
Eugene Stewart, 22595. I own the property there. I think the original historical significance of that site was a blacksmith shop. Why it's even listed with the Oregon Historical, since it's had such significant renovations throughout the history, it seems like somebody should review that list every once in a while and see if it should be on there or not. That's one building I don't think. We're next door. When we went through it, we re-sided, put a new roof on. We were fortunate enough, the planning director said that, oh, you're not changing enough, you're not historical, we are not recognized, we're non-significant, and why they are significant makes no sense. Also, if you look at the list for the Oregon Historical, you've got some sites listed twice, once with an old address, once with a new address.
Oh, the 2 3-digit address.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you even got where the new...
You know what that sounds like? You'd be perfect to start a citizens committee to review that list and all the buildings in it, since you think we need to get more citizens committees.
And besides, if you look at all the buildings the city's tore down that has historical, I mean, it makes no sense. But the only thing I would say is that since you did put them through this, there is a piece in there that I believe you should recommend very strongly to the city manager that they refund his fees for upgrading, because he is upgrading, and he does have the authority to do that, and I would hope you would strongly encourage it. Like I say, it was a residence and a dental office. As I remember as a kid, that was Dr. Simmons. Then there was Dr. Para, who was there for about 6 or 10 years. I went to him. There was then Dr. Jones, which was there for many years. And he did some extensive remodeling. So like I say, is that I think we need to look at our code a little bit. And I don't understand why the planning director, when we did it, maybe some of these new rules weren't in, but he had the authorities, because it wasn't substantial, just to sign off on it. The other thing is that I think you need to look at your definition for the historical board. I couldn't find any place. The only thing I found, it says it included the planning commission. How many other members does a historical board have? Where are they?
We're not here tonight.
And it seems like you should have at least an architect with historical perspective on it. So like I say, it's one of these things, hopefully you do revise and make it a lot easier. It's, like I say, it just seems a shame to put them through all this, and hopefully the weather doesn't turn bad on them, they can't get the roof on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there are a couple of comments that he brought up regarding that should be addressed, and for tonight we can't address the process that is in the code, and we're obligated by law to follow the code that we have. So in that process being in place, I believe Joy referenced the section that designates the Planning Commission as the Landmark Advisory. It's two different things. There's a Landmarks Advisory Committee versus the Historic Dedication. I think it's two different things, and they need to be separated. We're just acting as a Landmarks Advisory Committee, not a Historic Committee tonight.
And if I can just clarify one of the comments, just because I was here when the Planning Commission and the Council adopted the most recent Old Town overlay standards, and I don't disagree that they desperately need some rehashing. But at that time, basically any structure in Old Town, which is why I desperately think it needs to be rehashed, anything in Old Town is considered a historic landmark, which is why I believe that the siting on Mr. Stewart's property was done prior to the most recent update, which is why he didn't have to go through this process. And it,
regardless, through our code update, we should revisit the right thing being the easy thing, and a whole redo of a building should be a process, not
the intent is
painting a
to
building.
ensure that things that are of historical significance are maintained, and new things that are built in the character of Old Town,
Right,
but not
understood,
necessarily
but
to make everybody go through an
not to
onerous
make the process onerous. So you did have an opportunity to rebut any testimony, and he is shaking his head. I should have asked while you were up here if you are in agreement to all the conditions outlined by the staff, the conditions of approval.
Why am I here? Or why
No, the conditions of approval as outlined in the staff report.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine with those.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any further questions of staff or the applicant? All right, then we can go ahead and close and then discuss. All right, so we're going to close the public hearing, and staff can make final comments if you have any.
I have none.
Okay, if we have any further questions of staff? Well, any discussion by the commission? Okay, we can.
I'd just like to thank both the applicant and staff for their patience and their thorough work in going through all this. I can understand probably why there's frustration all the way around of the requirement, but understanding the intent, but also understanding there's an opportunity here as well. So thank you both. And I think I read through this and I'm like, oh, I'm totally crystal clear. So the work that was put into it was helpful. Thank you.
All right.
Uh-oh. Okay. My turn with the
Yes.
script. Okay. So we're approving the application with conditions.
Yes.
Adopting the staff report with the modification.
Correct.
Okay. All righty. Let's see. Oh, I haven't.
It's not, why do we have to read something? That's fine. So, whoever told us we have to read something, it's crazy.
Okay.
So read and approve the conditions.
Take it up with the lawyer.
Okay.
All right, so I move the Sherwood Planning Commission approve the application for Sherwood Old Town Dental, LA 18-01, based on the applicant testimony, public testimony received, and the analysis, findings, and conditions in the staff report with the following modification. Whereas under Section 3 of agency comments, clean water services is removed from the last paragraph.
All right.
Second.
All right.
I didn't have a script though.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve LA 18-01 Sherwood Old Town Dental. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Joy, and thank you to the applicant.
Chair Simpson, if I may address the script comment, you don't have to follow the script at all. We created different scenarios because the Planning Commission at the time struggled with what to say in certain circumstances.
Oh, yeah, I had no idea what to say, so I'm fine
Don't
with the
feel
script.
like you have to follow it, but it helps those that are less accustomed to
The
creating
newbies?
motions.
Well,
Yes.
but it's also important to use the motion when we have,
languages.
the language when we've made changes to the conditions,
Yeah, as
changes to
modified,
staff.
usually you say as
Yeah.
modified.
It's intended to help, so that's why we provide it.
It's all.
It's very helpful, especially with a public hearing.
Yeah, we used to have that where people could, we had extra copies for people. So, all right, we are moving right along to Planning Commissioner announcements. Does anybody have any announcements?
I would just like to ask a question of the staff is, like, this is one area I really think that I would assume the city council, and they can speak for themselves when it goes to them, would want to encourage landowners in Old Town to make exactly these type of improvements and make it as less onerous as possible. Is that something that they need to direct us to look at and say, maybe we just post it, let people make comments, and if somebody wants to appeal it to us, then they can do it, but just to make everybody go through that after staff, because I trust staff knows what earth tones are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
So we have had updating the Old Town Overlay Standards on our list of things we'd like to do for years now, and it has just never quite risen to the level of that's what we're doing. Certainly through the comp plan process, we envision some implementation, and certainly if we get direction, thou shalt go through the process of amending the Old Town Overlay Standards and make that a priority, we will figure out how to make that a priority. We've got a lot of other things on our plate, but it's not as simple as,
No, you're right.
I know that that's what you think, but other people have different opinions,
Right.
and we have to do public outreach, and my understanding is that, there's a lot of people that have a lot of passionate concerns about what Old Town looks like. And so, and again, I started here just as that language was being updated most recently, but my understanding at the time was that there was a lot of
No, it is.
input,
There's a lot of angst out there about
yeah,
it.
so it's certainly something that we can take on, but it's not, unfortunately, as simple as just simplifying it. We have to make sure that it's the right simplification, everybody's in agreement.
It's just my concern is that at one time in the city, we were actually paying people to upgrade, and it seems like we've gone to encouraging it to now putting a stop to it because you have to pay people and take time to do all this, and so we got to find a happy medium somehow. And I'm not saying you just throw them out. I'm just saying that maybe unless they're making modifications to the extra structure and they're just making cosmetics and timely changes that everybody has to do, that we have a different process for it.
That would be part of a code update.
Yeah, we'd have to do
Public
that.
record.
But
Yeah.
I know you're very busy.
But we don't disagree that it's something that is.
Is Eugene's comment, can he approach the city manager regarding the fees that were paid? Just as a,
Actually, not the city manager, it's the city council that has the authority to waive fees that are in the development.
okay, and so he can, okay.
Well, it doesn't matter. Does he really want to go through another process to try to get back?
I was of the opinion that you could have made the recommendation.
We can recommend anything we want. It doesn't mean anybody's going to follow us.
All right.
I know.
All right, we're not going to have more comments from the closed hearing. So, does anybody else have any planning commissioner announcements? All right. And we will adjourn the meeting at 7:40.
Wow, you're speedy.
7:39. Let's mark it for the record. All right.